stop any speaker who exceeds the maximum time limit. No questions, comments, cell phones, or picture taking will be permitted from the audience at any time. The audience will only be permitted to applaud following the Q&A period. The audience is banned from any material that bears the name or symbol of a competing university. We ask the audience exit the room immediately following the Q&A period. You may begin when you're ready.
I'm sure all of you have been a part of a team once in your life, and I'm sure you all went through the same 4 stages. You started with forming, storming, norming, and then you went on to performing. So what we're here to do today for you is actually bridge the gap between forming and performing with culture, because culture isn't just one aspect of the game, it is the game. My name is Serena, with me are my colleagues, Nicole and Rory, and we are Next Step Consulting.
Thanks, Serena. So to get things started today, we looked at an overarching statement that would help guide our presentation and our recommendation for you today. That statement is what direction should Predo take in successfully integrating the new employees coming into your organization. From the statement, we have recognized 3 secondary issues that will be absolutely key in addressing in order to provide a recommendation, and it's really an opportunity for your organization to grow. Inequitable compensation. Right now there is going to be contradicting pay structures from the merge. Right now, your new employees have been projected to make differently than your Pareto employees. We want to address this issue. Moving on to cultural differences. Consulting strategies vary in how to handle your clients. We want to make sure that everyone is on the same page and that everyone is working together as a team. And finally, communication. There's an opportunity to strengthen the communication in your organization so that everyone is continuing to grow and prosper. I'll bring in now Nicole to analyze the situation.
So looking at our analysis, we looked at your industry, your organization, and your employees in a quantitative aspect. So first of all, you're in a very cyclical industry. Your contracts are dependent on the economy, and acquiring HAL contracts are 70% of them are from oil and gas. So the impact of this is that there's a reduced opportunity for these contracts during a downtime in the economy. But we're confident today that with our solution, we can help you build a strategy to counteract that downtime. Looking into your organization, so you have just acquired a new company and you have 500 new team members. And I think this should be seen as more of an opportunity than something to some conflict. So with the impact is that there needs to be change management practices. These should be utilized effectively in order to properly integrate these employees. So with this integration, it's time sensitive. So the quicker you can get these employees in and ready to go, the faster that your company can prosper and be productive. So the impact of this is that your market share and your profits are dependent on these employees succeeding in your organization right now. Also, with your organization's culture, so you kind of have 2 different cultures right now, and they're kind of clashing a bit. And so we want to build you a strategy to have both of those cultures work together and sort of form one new culture with the new employees. So looking at your employee analysis, you have a pushback right now from the Pareto employees. They're feeling neglected and they don't feel like they are being heard as much as the new employees are. And they're also not really recognizing the benefit from the merge. So there's 500 new employees, what's in it for them kind of thing. So also the in-house social media page. We address this in our analysis because the inappropriate messages are being openly commented for everyone to see, and we see this as a bit of a issue that needs to be addressed in our implementation plan. And so it's not only inappropriate, but it's going to damage some employees' morale. With the quantitative analysis, we just looked at the engagement rule, the 20-60-20. So 20% of your talent is always going to be on board with change. 60% is going to be neutral, and 20% are going to be actively disengaged. So that 60% is the ones that you really want to target with your change management practices, because they're the ones that are going to be convinced, and you'll easily be able to get them on board with your plan. So now Roy will go over decision criteria.
So when we were thinking about solutions and alternatives for your organization, we considered 3 critical factors that had to be met in order for us to proceed with the correct implementation plan. So the first one being justifiable rewards. Whatever solution we come up with today, we want to make sure that it is fair for all employees and that people are getting paid what they deserve. Next, a united culture. Successful integration of the new employees has to be key in order for the organization to continue to grow. And finally, a strategic communication strategy. This means valuing all employees' opinions, but doing it properly through engagement surveys and other things that we will touch on in our implementation. So I'll let Nicole talk to you about what our alternatives look like.
So before we found you the perfect recommendation today, we looked at a few different alternatives. The first being called apples and oranges. So having a separate division for the new employee. So basically having them as more of a subdivision of your current company. So this would be justifiable in the rewards category, but it did meet our other decision criteria. And we really want to utilize these new employees and have them keep the company to prosper and more productivity with the new employees. So therefore we rejected that alternative. The second one was the do-over. So reorientate these new employees. We don't feel that they had a successful orientation. They weren't quite integrated into the company that first week or so, so have a new reorientation. And we feel that this is kind of going back on your processes and might confuse some new employees, so therefore we rejected that alternative as well. And so the recommendation we're actually going with today is called Bridging the Gap. So we're going to evaluate your compensation plan and build a new culture for your company. And Serena will now go over that in more in detail.
All right, so I am confident today that this idea of bridging the gap is going to help your company burrito. And so we have sectioned it off into 2 different sections here. So the first is compensation. So I'd like to touch on pay grades and goal sharing. So what we've come up with you, or for you today, is actually a pay grade that'll go across the board for all of the different employees, as well as goal sharing. So you actually get that very team-orientated aspect in the company. And then also with this is culture. So first up is mission, vision, and values. We'd like to see you reevaluate these and really communicate them to your employees. Second is engagement survey to utilize benchmarking. So we did see that you put out one survey, but we'd like to see an engagement survey to really see how these employees are feeling and actually send it out to all employees, not just that new group. And also is the integrated retreat. So what this would do is bring in all of the management and actually have them attend a retreat and learn a little bit more about where this whole team-oriented and goal-oriented culture is going. And then finally is meeting to address company ethics. So the company that you have acquired did have some ethical issues, but we've addressed those for you today to ensure that they do not carry over into your company. So let's hop right into implementation here. First, let's talk about the first 3 months of your implementation. So we're going to really target this culture. So first up is coming up with that mission, vision, and values. So if you do not already have these, or if you do have them, we really want to see you reevaluate them and make sure that they are aligning with what you're wanting to do in the future. So you really want to engage the new employees in this process as well as utilize them in your decision making for the future. And finally, you want to emphasize ethics and teamwork in these. So these are really the 2 aspects that we would love to see your company take forward and use within your culture. Second is that engagement survey. So you really want to use benchmarking in order to have a quantifiable aspect to it. And not only the quantifiable aspect, but also give employees a chance to give a little qualitative analysis back for you. Really give their opinions on how they're feeling about things in their workplace. Also is to reinforce it by the executives. We have found that employees feel very connected to their executives if they receive, say, an email or a memo from them. They feel like they should go out and actually contribute to the kind of things that their executives reach out to them to do. Also with this is to send it all out to all Credo employees. Like I just mentioned before, this is going out to all employees. You really want to get that full-on engagement survey, not just those new employees. And finally, give all employees a voice. So that's what this is really and truly about, giving employees a voice, because right now even your current employees are feeling as though the acquired employees are getting all of the light and all of the spotlight, and you really need to even out that playing field for all of your employees to keep that teamwork culture alive. Next is our timeline of 3 to 6 months for you today. So next we have an ethics committee. We'd love to see you implement this ethics committee because we believe that it will really enhance the culture surrounding the ethics. And so they would be responsible for reviewing best practices, going into, these would be people who are already out there consulting. They would review the job, find the best practices, and see what the most ethical way of consulting is, and then actually make up a kind of package to share that with all employees later on, which we'll talk about. Next is to report any issues to management. So as they're going through this process, they might come over some little bumps, and that should go directly to management, because any small ethical issues should be addressed right away to ensure that they don't turn into larger ones. And also the opportunity for an intrinsic reward leadership opportunity. So you might say, why would people even bother wanting to be on this ethics committee? It is a whole new set of skill sets that they can learn from this opportunity. They can learn a lot of things from it, and it is a great opportunity to meet even more people within the company. Next is the company-wide address from Paul. So we believe that this is very, very important for your company to have another kind of meeting to address this new acquisition. And so it would address the social media comments for sure, because these we have seen are definitely inappropriate and something that should be tackled early on to ensure they don't carry on into the future. Second is to communicate the importance of the ethics committee. So this is kind of where the announcement of that committee comes, and also the reinforcement that if anyone has an ethical issue that they are unsure of, no matter how big or small, that they can go to that ethics committee and receive judgment back on that. So moving forward here, continuing on this culture is we want to review the engagement survey results. So this is when you get all those results back and actually address what is wrong with your engagement. And so this is when a new implementation would start on how to fix that engagement, which we would be happy to help you with in the future. Moving on is to host a retreat for management and key talent. I briefly touched on this. So what this entails is actually getting all the management together and having a retreat with them to talk about this new culture that you're starting off with. Bring in an external speaker so that the management doesn't feel that it's pro-acquired or acquisitioned company, and that it's a very neutral party doing this. And it's also building team exercises. So you really want to get that team aspect out there for the management, because once you get it set up in that level, it really does filter through down to all employees. And finally, having the attendees share their knowledge with the team. So all of the management, when they get back, will share this with their individual teams. So what this really does is it's the knowledge sharing aspect. So you don't have to bring all those employees together because you are such a big company. And so what we've estimated for this cost of renting a facility as well as the external speaker is $10,000 for you today. Moving on, I'll let Rory take it over.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about compensation and what the compensation package would look like for the entire holistic approach for all of your employees. Three main issues: pay grades. So what we want to make sure is that people are getting paid adequately for the work that they are doing. Ultimately, what we want to do is see that you bring up the wages for your existing employees who are having to handle a lot of change and a lot of changes in this first year. Bring them up to where, similar to where the new employees have recently been getting paid at, and base it more on years of service and duties provided. Next, we want to look at what the bonus structure looks like. So we want to determine the payouts for goal sharing and team goal sharing and gain sharing. What this would look like is teams working together instead of just individually tackling a client. Now they'll be motivated to start helping the new employees instead of working for themselves and working against each other. By bringing in the team aspect, it gives them motivation to work together. Next, benefits in terms of volunteering opportunities or earned days off or mental health days. This would allow for, it is going to be a very busy year and it might be a bit stressful. We have to allow employees to get out of the office once in a while. And essentially what this means is volunteering opportunities. Another great initiative that you could do at low cost in order to bring employees together and start them working together outside the office so they start to build friendships that they can take back into the office. Moving forward with culture, in the 6 to 12 months, we want to again meet with the ethics committee and outline the procedures that they will be following in terms of consulting processes and ethical consulting processes. This is to put everyone at ease in terms of bringing over the new employees. We're all aware that they are good employees. You yourself are very proud of bringing them in, and we believe that they are going to be successful, ethical business professionals. But your existing employees are a little uncertain. So by integrating the business ethics procedures, everyone will be at ease and everything will be consistent. In terms of long-term and going forward, what we want to look at is the semi-annual engagement surveys. We want to continue to keep employees engaged and we want to continue to hear their voices heard, especially in these first couple years, and to make sure that everyone is voicing their opinions properly and not specifically through social media, we believe that this is going to start to take people off the social media with their negative comments, and we'll be able to filter them all together through a more consistent and more controllable approach. Next, what we want to look at is creating a social committee. So they would host events to bring divisions together. So what we've recommended so far for you today is bringing together employees in terms of their own department. But with these initiatives on the social committee, you're going to eliminate any sort of silo approach, and you're going to start to bring employees together even if they're not working on the same projects. So bringing, again, back to what I mentioned, bringing employees out of the organization in order to make friends and bring these friendships back into the organization to reduce the amount of conflict and make the transition much easier for your organization. Next, what we'd like to do is review the annual team bonus structure. So we want to make sure that what you're doing with the team goal sharing is being used accurately, and it's being used by the professionals that you've hired for clients. We want to make sure that what they're taking advantage of it, and that they are seeing the value added in terms of working together. So we'd like to review how much they're using it, and then by using that we can determine how much more or how much less you need for the team goal initiative. Next, moving on to corporate social responsibilities, what we want to see is you expanding that volunteer opportunities, just giving them all the opportunities available in order to start helping the community and start giving back and start to grow again as a company. And this goes back to creating the new culture that you can start to create with these volunteer opportunities, showing that you are a company that works together for the community, for yourselves, and for everyone else involved. In terms of long-term considerations, based on the surveys that you would receive back from your new employees, they said that there is a low amount of diversity in the organization. This is something that we want to consider going forward. With everything we've implemented and provided with you today, it seems quite busy to do it in the first year, but it's definitely something you could consider. So what that looks like is shifting and aligning your talent pipeline a bit differently to focus on minorities in the labor market. So this could be involving women, because engineering is predominantly a male-dominated industry, so involving women, there's an emerging market for Aboriginals that could definitely be looked at, and just anything that really helps diversify the workforce and gives people a wealth of knowledge and brings more innovation into your organization and more value-added intrinsic rewards. Secondly, we would like to move towards a flat organizational structure. So another thing that had been mentioned in the survey by the new employees, that they said it was kind of bureaucratic. Everyone kind of had their own role. What we'd like to see you do going forward in the future, once all this implementation and changes have been made, is that you should definitely look into loosening up the roles a little bit. Let people experiment and explore a little bit in their role, and let them be open to new opportunities in your organization.
So we believe today that with our recommendation, we've really set you up to achieve excellence. And today, we just have this time right here to visualize our plan that we have laid out for you today. So on the far side are the initiatives we have just laid out for you and the months that it'll go by. So if you just want to take a look at that in your pamphlet, and you can adjust that at any time. So looking at a few risks. So with every great plan, there's always going to be a few risks to consider. First of all, that the employees leave the organization due to so much change. They get out while they can because it's a big mess right now. So the impact of this would be very high, but the probability we believe is low because of what we have just laid out for you here today. The mitigation, we believe, to conduct exit interviews with these employees, just get that sense of why they are leaving and then hopefully mitigate that risk from there. But you could also do a review of the engagement surveys and look at that quantifiable numbers and see which one's low and what you can do to help that. There's also the negative feedback continues through social media. So the comments keep coming and you don't know how to address them. So we believe with that you could approach specific individuals that are the problem makers and have a talk with them and see how you can go forward from there, as well as temporarily remove the social media site, find another way for employees to chat over online, as well as have focus groups. So look into that more in detail, and this could be addressed as the risk comes up. Now I'll let Rory wrap it up for us.
So what have we talked to you about today? We've talked to you about a changing environment, and we've talked to you about combining teams. And a lot of what this looks like is combining your strategic change management that we have laid out for you with the teamwork to recreate prosperity for your organization. And essentially what this will look like is $446 million in revenue, almost 100 million more than what you were making in the previous year. And you yourself had mentioned that you were very excited to bring on these new employees, and we are too. And we're here to help you with the next step, as well as any steps following that in your quest to achieve excellence. I would like to now thank you for your time and open the floor to any questions.
Your compensation recommendation, timeline 3 to 6 months, have you costed that? Or thought about the cost of that?
We did think about the costs, and we actually wanted to address those in our presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have the exact numbers of which employees are in which positions.
Right.
So from there, we couldn't really go on with exact numbers from that.
In your discussion, kind of building on what Rita says, you're talking about upgrading 80% of your workforce's pay, because you've got 20% employees that are coming in that are going to be paid more. So it's a pretty significant expense. Have you looked to what you're going to do from a consulting perspective to, be able to fund those additional costs or that sort of thing? And then, looking at the team bonus structure and implementing or like doing something with that to try to do something from an organization's perspective to pay for that. What were your thoughts on how you would do that?
When we were thinking about doing a team bonus structure, this is really where the incentive comes in. We wanted to base a lot of their bonus off of the team bonus structure in order to alleviate some of the base pay and compensation. So this will motivate them to work together. And essentially what we want to do is make a balance. We're not looking to increase everyone's pay, we're looking to make it equitable for everyone in terms of across the board and making sure everyone who's doing the same duties is getting paid similarly, but also getting paid in bonuses if they're working together.
Along the lines of Marion, I totally get how you're trying to change, the view of, the ethics issues that were, taking part of the organization. And you're looking at adding mental health days, volunteering time, which is fantastic. But how does that affect billable hours and again, so have you thought of that?
We did think about how that's going to affect actually like everything, kind of productivity, billable hours, everything you were speaking of there. And so what we came up with is that the work that people have while they were there is going to be so much more valuable while they're there, because they will be working as a team and they will be enjoying their time there, being with people that they enjoy being there with. And so we think that these kind of two things counteract each other in the fact that you will see a lot of productivity from your employees.
Just to add to that, it also goes back to the engagement. If the employees are working in teams and they are feeling a connection to the company's mission, then they will be that 20% that's always engaged, and we believe that this will make them even more productive.
You're talking about the management retreat and key talent, and your costing's probably not reflective, I would assume, of the travel, because you've got, for your management team and key talent would be coming from, throughout the world essentially, because of the way our structure is. So, again, going back to sort of looking at the deliverables coming out of that retreat for the investment that you're making. Tell me a little bit on your thoughts on that.
When we were looking at the facts provided, what was assumed is that we were bringing people from Ottawa to Toronto, and this was the key merger that's happening. Things that could be added to the retreat would be something like video conferencing, but if it is essential that you believe that these individuals from the other countries would come in, we believe it is worth your time to invest in your human capital in order to make your company sustainable for the future. And essentially, the investment outweighs the cost.
So your ethics committee, you've got that as a recommendation. How can communication be set up so that people feel comfortable, whether it's clients or employees or what have you, to take issues to the ethics committee?
So what I'd like to say with that is that this is meant to be more of an internal ethics committee. An external one would also be a great idea that can stream from this in the future. But internally, what would be great is that kind of personal connection with all this engagement and meeting each other. Hopefully people feel comfortable addressing someone. Another option with this as well would be to set up an online forum, whether that be to submit anonymously or by name, that you can submit these as well.
When we were thinking of our implementation, we have thought about a key tool in change management called AdCar. And basically that is what we have used in order to streamline this implementation for you today. And essentially this is the best way for you to incorporate change in your organization.
You had Paul, who's our CEO, speaking, I think, in the third month to all employees. Do you think that you would accelerate that or stay with the 3-month plan?
Sorry, that's the end of the question.